Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation, and I have got a very special guest, John Steele, founding member, drummer of the Animals, about to embark on a final curtain farewell tour of Australia with the Animals and Friends. Welcome to Rock Daydream Nation, John. How are you?
I'm fine, Peter. I'm looking forward to kicking off the tour. We fly out tomorrow, and it'll be good for the next 5 weeks. We always have a good time in Australia, so we're looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And yes, you'll be in Australia in about a week's time. So folks, make sure you don't miss out. John, is there a certain melancholy sadness in this farewell tour, or do you see it on the flip side as being a bit of a happy occasion, a final celebration?
Oh, it's hard to say, Peter. Really, I keep swinging back and forwards, and it's just one of those things that at the same time I'm busy packing through 50 years of accumulated jumble rather, because I'm going to be relocating from where I've been living for the past 50 years. so it's all a bit strange.
Absolutely. Now, you were in the Animals right from the start, but this lineup with Danny Handley, Barney Williams, and Norman Helm, you've developed a bit of a musical chemistry in its own right. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It really is. I'm not no, I'm not BSing, but it is the best lineup that I've worked with since the original Animals. Barney is an exceptional keyboard player. Danny plays both lead guitar and lead vocals, both brilliant. Norm is a really cracking bass player, and we're very tight together, very tight. So it's a great pleasure to work with these guys.
Indeed. Now, when you're doing a tour with such an extensive catalogue as the Animals, there's going to be some rusted on songs. Otherwise, there'd be a riot in the streets. I mean, you've got to play House of the Rising Sun. We've got to get out of this place. Is it difficult to whittle all the songs in the catalogue into a final song list?
Um, it, we kind of shuffle them about a bit. I mean, there's the obvious ones, like you just said, and we got to get out of this place. It's my life. Don't let me be misunderstood. Bring it on home to me. Uh, there's several really must-do songs every night, but there's a lot of good stuff from album tracks and B-sides that we can shuffle about. So we try not to make it the same exact same show every night because we're not a cabaret act. We're a rock and roll band, and we like to enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, you've answered my next question. Are we going to expect some surprises, some deep cuts?
Yeah, I would think there'd be one or two songs that nobody's heard before, or didn't expect to see, didn't see them coming. But yeah, we seem to manage to put a good show on with all the material we've got, and but again, every night we play to a standing ovation, so we must be doing something right, you know.
Absolutely. Sometimes is it a surprise to you? You're behind you're in the drum kit and somebody will yell out, "We're going to play this," and you go, "Oh, okay."
Yes,
Sometimes are you surprised of what happens during the night?
that does happen. That does happen frequently. Danny will turn around and say, "Oh, we haven't done Boom Boom for ages, or we haven't done Bo Diddley, and let's do that." And I go, "Oh God, what's the intro like again?"
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, so many of these songs are rightly regarded as rock classics. Why do you think that these songs are so enduring across so many generations?
I, I think it's because the I don't know I call them grown up songs, because it's not just mainstream pop. They're songs that have something about real life in them, and that's why it doesn't matter what age you are, what generation you come from. People seem to identify with the songs. People sing along to "We Got to Get Out of This Place" when they're leaving school these days, or changing jobs. There's always something in the song that anybody can identify with, and that's, I think I've always said, in recent years, that's the strength of this band, because we deliver those songs with the true to the spirit of the original Animals as well.
Yeah. Do you still get that sort of giddy feeling when you're in the car and you turn on the radio and you hear one of the tracks that you laid down some beats to?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. Yes, I just got a message yesterday, in fact, from a very dear friend who who said she was listening to the radio and suddenly "We Got to Get It Out of This Place" came on, and so she thought she'd give me a buzz and let me know. It happens a lot.
Those early albums, were they recorded really quickly? Was it a fast process to lay down those tracks?
It was, yeah. Can you tell?
Well, no, but I read that's the way like the Beatles and the Stones used to do it, like one or two takes. I'm just wondering, was the Animals of the same cloth, just
Yeah,
in and out sort
exactly.
of thing?
Exactly. I mean, the first studio we recorded in when we did "Baby Let Me Take You Home" it's a really primitive, just one room, mono desk in a control room and a toilet, and that was it. we recorded we recorded "House of the Rising Sun" in that same studio. We did it in one single take. We
Yeah.
we just yeah, and then usually what the routine we got into we'd have a couple of songs in mind for possibly for a single or and a b-side, and then just while we're at it, while we're set up, oh, let's try this and let's try that and come up with two or three album tracks or even a whole album.
You're on record as being a fan of jazz. Do you think that you brought that style of jazz playing to the Animals?
I think so, yeah. I've been told before that there's a certain kind of swing to my style of playing that makes the sound kind of different. It's not straight down the middle, rock, 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 rock. There's
Bit of a groove. There's
there's
always a bit of groove in your playing. Would that be fair to say?
that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Who are your heroes? Your drumming heroes?
Whoa, lots of them. One of my favorites was Elvin Jones, who played with John Coltrane Quartet for many years, and I saw him live at Newcastle City Hall for the first time, and I was just astonished at the fluidity of the playing. But there's so many great drummers in jazz. James Cobb, we played with Miles Davis. People like that, they're my, proper, what I call proper drummers.
Absolutely. What is it about drummers of that generation, like Charlie Watts? He was a huge jazz fan. That they
Yeah.
really look to those to the jazz icons as drummers.
Yeah, Charlie and I were often compared to each other as in similar ways in
Yeah.
both personality wise and playing wise. You get the drummers are generally in two kinds. The slightly crazy ones, and then there's the kind of more more grounded ones like Charlie and me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take it back to 1964. You're in New York City. You appear on the Ed Sullivan Show. Was this a moment where you had to pinch yourself and said, "Gee, I think we've made it"?
Well, yeah, we. I mean, until we got to the States in the early '60s, Ed Sullivan, we didn't realize how huge he was. I mean, he had a massive audience every week, and it was one of the most successful TV programs in the States at the time. But it was like a variety show. It wasn't pure rock. There was all kinds of things. I mean, we did it more than once, two or three times, three even more. One of the acts was a roller skating act. I distinctly remember it was a man and his girlfriend whizzing round on a little round platform for about 30 seconds, and that was it. You never knew what to expect on Ed Sullivan.
But the exposure through that show didn't do your band any harm whatsoever. Like it broke your band right through America, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, it did. I mean, exactly the way it did for Elvis Presley. I mean, that was the show that made him the rock star and the superstar that he was.
Would it be fair to say there was a little bit of Beatlemania around your band for a period of time with the
Oh,
fans?
yeah. I mean, we all kind of fed off the Beatles. Our whole generation. we were all brought up in the 50s on rock and roll, and that's what inspired us. And suddenly the Beatles just were from somewhere else, and
Yeah,
they just opened doors all over the world, and the rest
yeah.
of us. The rest of us just followed them in.
I guess what I'm talking about is about the fan fervor for your band. Did you find that you just couldn't go anywhere without girls chasing that sort
Yeah,
of that Beatle, that sense of Beatlemania, the fans?
yeah. That was an odd thing for us as well. When in the UK and in Europe, we were generally we had male audiences. We're a boys' band, if you like. We played
Yeah,
blues, rock and roll. We weren't mainstream pop. So it wasn't until we arrived in the States that we were suddenly mobbed by teenage girls. It was quite a surprise.
come on. Did you enjoy it, or was that a bit of a drag?
No, you got to enjoy that. It was really fun. There's a lot of fun involved. I mean, but we knew how to enjoy ourselves, and it
Yeah.
was great.
Were you recognised in the street, or is basically Eric was the one who was the one that got recognisable in the street, and he'd have to duck?
Yeah,
Were you recognised?
I was recognised, but usually I could slip past. Eric would be the target, or Chaz, because he was 6'2" and everybody recognised Chaz. but I could slide past when the fans were distracted following Eric.
Absolutely, but you didn't find it a drag, because some of the Beatles, like George Harrison, was on record that he was quite miserable because they just couldn't get out of their hotel room. Did it ever get that bad that you just were kind of trapped?
No, they really had it more than anybody else in the world ever. At that time, and
Yeah,
it was it was a it was. I mean, it sounds silly to say, but it was pretty tough. It's sometimes been pretty tough being that famous. That you can't leave your hotel room without a bodyguard or something.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The Animals are known for taking on cover versions and turning it into something unique, like CC Rider, I Put a Spell on You. Um, did you have songwriters bombard you with, asking, "Can you play this song? Can you play this song?" How did you choose cover songs?
Well, originally, Mickey Most, who was our producer, he produced the first most of the stuff anyway. But he was he was probably the first maybe not the first, but he was a very young independent producer at the time. So he had a free hand, and he used to often go over to New York to the Brill Building and ferret around and come back, because there's so many songwriters made that their headquarters.
Mm,
The building was packed, with some wonderful stars, and you would come back with one or two records or a handful and played them through. But he was a good picker of songs. Mick, he wasn't a hands-on producer. He didn't ever touch the desk. He left that to the engineer. But Mickey knew what a hit record sounded like.
yeah. Well, you guys certainly had the knack of finding the right cover songs that sort of suited you. So the original Animals, which were kind of R&B and blues, broke up in '66, and then Eric Burdon put Eric Burdon and the Animals with a new direction. You weren't involved, but what was your personal opinion of this band as an outsider? Did you like the direction of that music that Eric was taking the band?
Um, I could see where he was at, and there was some some pretty strong songs that he did that were successful. Sky Pilot's one of the ones that gets most mentioned as typical of that band. But a lot of it, for me, it was kind of what broke the original band up in the first place. I think was like LSD. Eric was deeply into the acid culture, and it scared me, to be perfectly honest, because I saw people that I knew change personality completely by too much LSD, and I thought I don't want to go there. So I stayed well out of it.
Yeah. So that music wasn't quite your bag. You were more of the blues and that sort of the beat driven. That was your
Yeah,
style of music.
yeah, still is, still is. I'm still a jazz fan. I'm still a rock fan. My favorite rock and roll is still, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Elvis, early Elvis.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I still love it. Fats Domino,
Yeah.
and that's it's never left me. I love it, that love of music.
Absolutely. Now, the band reunited twice, so I'll talk about the first time. You reunited in 75 and recorded Before We Were So Rudely Interrupted album. What
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
trigger point to bringing the group back together? What was the trigger for that?
Well, at that time, it was mid 70s, and I was working for Chaz as it happened. Chaz had by that time become a very successful producer, namely Jimi Hendrix,
Mm,
and he was currently working on a new band for the time called Slade, and they became very, very successful in Europe and Australia. And
yes.
um, uh, he called me up one day and said, "Why aren't you coming? Why don't you come and play with me?" I need a friend. so but the end of the 60s, 1969 exactly, was the time I went into the business side of things with Chaz. And so there's one day we're sitting in the office, and Eric was going to be coming into to London, and he was going through a bit of a doldrum phase. There wasn't much happening for him at this point.
Mm,
And Hilton, I think, was working in a McDonald's in Los Angeles, the guitarist,
yeah.
and Alan Price was on a sort of neither here nor there patch, and I said to Chaz, "Why don't you get while Eric's over here, why don't we just give Alan a ring and send a ticket to Hilton, and he'd be over in a flash, and we could knock out an album." And Chaz said, "Oh, I don't know. How about that? How about that?" But I said, Chaz had recently just formed his own label, Barn Productions. And I said, "But we'll be putting it on Barn Productions, Barn Records." And he went, "Ah, that's a good idea." so we pulled it together. And so it was mainly me who sort of got the thing rolling, but it was Chaz who put the whole thing together and financed it and had the studio and all the rest of it.
Was it a happy experience for everyone? Was any animosity sort of put aside? Was it like the old days?
Not quite. No. I think Eric spent after the original Animals, Eric seemed to spend the rest of his career trying to distance himself from the original band. It was Eric
Right.
Burdon. It was Eric Burdon and the New Animals, Eric Burdon and War, Eric Burdon and this, Eric Burdon and that. It seemed as though Eric spent his entire career trying to establish his name as a household name, when most people reckon that the best stuff Eric ever did was with the original Animals. That's still the stuff that everybody remembers.
Mm.
So there was always a bit of a reluctance from Eric, and when he got involved in that project, I think he only really did it because he needed the money at the time, to be honest.
Right. Understand. It was critically sort of praised, but it didn't lead to any tour or any live work. It sort of kind of died. Was that a little bit disappointing for you?
No, I think it wasn't intended as anything else but a studio album. We
Right.
never really considered going on tour, and I think it would be the last thing that Eric wanted to do would be doing.
Yeah. But if it was a smash, that may have,
It
that
may have
may have
been,
twisted his arm sort of thing.
maybe, but it didn't. It didn't get be. Still a lot of people bring that album to gigs to get signed, and
Mm,
a lot of people tell me it's their favorite Animal album, but
yeah.
it didn't it didn't shake the world. That put it that way.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's ahead of its time. You think that's a fair statement? Maybe it was because it was released in when disco was big and there was a lot of other things happening in '77. Maybe it was
Yeah.
a bit ahead of its time. Don't know.
Wow. I don't know about that either. It certainly it certainly appeals to a certain kind of people. Like I say, whenever I play these days anywhere in the world, somebody's bound to bring that album up and say, "Can you sign this, please? It's my favorite Animals album."
Yeah. Well, speaking of another change in musical direction, which was quite a surprise, was your last reunion album, 1983 Arc. Can you tell us of how that came together and you got the band back for
Yeah,
that album?
yeah. It was a strange time that '83 that was, wasn't it? Yeah,
83, yes.
yeah. Um, the, my God, my memory's getting so shaky. Rod, his name was Rod. Anyway, he was a producer, a businessman, and he was an Animals fan, and he wanted to put the band back together again, and he set it up and he got everybody to agree to do it. So it was record an album and do a tour, and again. I think Eric only did it because at the time he needed the money.
Bit of a common theme here. But musically, it was quite different. It was a bit of a new wave direction. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you were
Eric,
playing. What did you think? Did you think, ooh, I don't know about this?
um, well, it was mainly, as far as I remember, Eric was wrote some original songs for the album, and he enjoyed doing that. Me, I just I'm just a bog standard drummer. I just play what I feel comfortable doing and do the best I can with it. And
Yeah. Were you happy with the album?
well, I wasn't ashamed of it. I wasn't embarrassed by it.
Mm,
It's not something I play very often, to be honest. But
mm.
that's the way it is sometimes. A lot of people don't play their own music very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you listen to a lot of your old material, or you always been a forward, onwards and upwards sort of chap? Do you
Oh
listen
no!
to a lot of your old records?
Oh, I do. But not by necessarily by the Animals, but
Mm,
just the records from my collection over the past 50 or 60 years.
yeah.
Um, and I've got a nice shelf full of vinyl there, and pull one out every once in a while. But I don't even try to keep up with what's going on now musically. There seems to be so many different streams of music that don't appeal to me. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm just old school, I'm just.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we love about you. That's what we love. Hey, 1994, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
Describe that. Was that a great night for you and the band?
it was a lot of fun for Chaz and me. Chaz and me and Hilton were there. Alan went sat at another table, and Eric didn't even show up.
Where was Eric?
um, he went on record as saying he had other things, more important things to do than live in the past or something to that.
Yeah. Were you
You
a
know,
little disappointed that, just a
yeah,
little bit disappointed that he just wasn't on sharing the stage with you that night?
absolutely. I think it was quite sad, really. He avoided it strictly because as I said before, he didn't want to spend the rest of his life being remembered as the singer with the Animals. And that to me was why he didn't turn up. He had better things to do, as it was. It seems to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I believe that there was David Perner from Soul Asylum inducted you. Did you know who David was? He did a
No.
nice little introduction.
What band was he from?
Soul Asylum.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I really didn't know him at all, to be honest.
Yeah. But like the Animals have influenced quite a few bands. Like there's so many bands like garage rock and punk and rock that go back to the Animals. Are you always amazed that these bands over multiple generations cite your band as an influence?
I'm very proud of it. Actually, it's something that is very especially when Bruce Springsteen went on tour in recent years, and every night on stage he would say, there's 3 songs. Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, It's My Life, and We Got to Get Out of This Place. And he says, they're the foundation for every song I ever wrote. And they were all by a great band called The Animals. So that was rather generous and very nice.
And it's heartfelt because I think you believe what he says. I've heard that he has said that on a number of occasions. He's a big fan of The Animals.
Yeah.
Now, there have been 2 bands touring The Animals, yours and Eric's. Do you think that they complement each other, or deep down you would have preferred that they were just one band, one family, and just roadshow it out?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it seems to me, Peter, that Eric's lost his chops somewhat. I've seen him on a couple of things recently where he seemed kind of lost on stage, and then he needed, like, I saw a thing last year. It was, I don't know where it was, somewhere in America, but it was a big show with many different stars on it, and it looked to me like Eric wasn't where, like the bass player was standing beside him, cueing him the lyrics, the stops and starts. It seems like Eric's kind of lost his mojo a bit.
If you're at an airport lounge and you saw Eric, would you go up and say good day?
Oh, so sure, yeah, of course.
Have you had any recent contact with him in any shape or form?
Not recently, no. He's the last I heard was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. He's relocated to Greece. He's been living on the west coast of the States for decades, and then he met a Greek girl about the time. Well, hell, I remember it was his 60th birthday. I was at his 60th birthday celebration, and she was his new girlfriend. So hell, that's 24 years ago now. but yeah, and just she's finally taken him to live in her home country, and that's the last I've heard of him.
Well, he's definitely a legendary frontman, and he does. He's the quintessential leader of the Animals, and you guys have definitely written some absolute pantheon of classic rock songs. So, yeah. How do you think history will regard the Animals? What is the legacy of the Animals, in your humble opinion? Because you were there right from the start.
Yeah, we were part of what became the British invasion, of America, where I don't know if you know the expression "taking coals to Newcastle." That's what we did. We'd been inspired by everything American when we were in our teens, and blues, jazz, rock and roll, and it wasn't just it was a whole generation from the Beatles and everybody else at that point, at that time, suddenly went to America, and we sort of took the place by storm, and it was just like we couldn't understand what the fuss was about, because, like I say, we were just feeding off of American music from being kids, I can remember at one interview when we first went over there, where one guy said to us, "So how come you guys invent this music?" And we just looked at him and thought, "What is he talking about?"
What can we expect with the Australian show, John?
Well, as I said before, we'll be doing the obvious hits, the big numbers, but the rest of it is on the night. We'll pick some songs. We don't want to. We never wanted to want to get into this situation where it's like a cabaret act. You do the same thing note for note every night. It's if something feels like it's going in the right direction, we'll go with it. So there's quite a bit of jazz in improvisation in what we do. So it's a lot of fun. You're never quite certain about what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. Well, folks, don't miss the Australia tour. And you're going to be doing some other territories after this. What other countries, or is there a UK tour, Europe, America on the works?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of European work coming up. Scandinavia, Northern Europe mainly. Nothing on the cards for America for next year so far, but you never know. So we'll just keep gigging around, enjoying ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, it's a classic band, folks, the Animals. And I'm talking to the drummer who's been there from the start. They're classic rock and roll. So, John, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate, and looking forward to seeing you do the traps in Australia and Sydney in a week's time.
Yeah. I hope you come along, Peter. It'd be nice to see you, but it's been great talking to you anyway.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Rock Daydream Nation, everyone. Cheers. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.